What is up, duelists? Arts and Crofts here, continuing our coverage of the Season 6 GOAT format War League playoffs. We are deep into the semifinals now. Last time out, we saw 5th seed Damage Step complete their second straight upset over tournament favorites Bug Catchers, securing their spot in the top two in the finals. So now, today, we will be heading back down to Bones Generation versus Bomb Squad to see who will end up being paired up against Damage Step for the championship match. Now, if you need a refresher as to where we ended up last time, Bomb Squad got off to a pretty solid start here in Wave 1, winning 4 out of the Wave 1 matches, knocking out every player on the Bones Generation except for potthemaster and Captain Tiso here. So Bomb Squad off to a solid lead here, and interestingly, out of all 4 of their players left, they are all Chaos Turbo players. So not really too much matchup choice to be made here when they decide who to run out for Wave 2. They chose to bring up Michele Cimino here, as well as 19th ranked player, the Dark Knight. In terms of Bone Generation, 2 remaining players are Tiso on Warrior. So that we got a little Warrior versus Turbo matchup here, a classic. And then we also have Pot the Master, who we featured last time, defeating Bomb Squad's top-ranked player, El Duelista Dex here in a Turbo versus Warrior matchup. Now they're going to be out here against Michele Cimino in a Turbo Mirror. And we are going to be following Pot the Master once again here. Going to look at this high-level Chaos Turbo Mirror. We are now deep, very, very deep in the War League season, so stuff like Turbo Mirrors are going to be very, very common. And what's a better one to hone in on here than a very high stakes match in this semifinal matchup? So yeah, Turbo Mirror ready to go. We do have some scouting here on both of the players. Load up Pot the Master's list first. There we go. So yeah, as mentioned, they are playing Turbo. Their main deck, from what I could see, as we saw in the previous match, they were playing against Warrior. Main deck, relatively standard. They are playing a Torrential Tribute in the main deck, which isn't always seen and not particularly great into the mirror, but in order to kind of hedge that, they are also main decking a copy of Mind Control. So Torrential kind of making them a little bit worse against Turbo Mirrors, but Mind Control, making up for that on the back end. So, nothing lost really there. They do like the GOAT meta kind of Chaos Control Smokescreen side deck against aggro decks. We saw them bring that in against the Warrior matchup in the previous wave. Not really expecting to see that here in the Turbo Mirror, though. That's generally to shore up matchups against more aggressive lists. And so otherwise, besides the main deck Torrential and the main deck Minecon, a relatively standard Turbo list from what I can tell. If we go head over to Michele Cimino, they also are on Chaos Turbo, as mentioned, but they have a little bit of their own take on the list. They got a main deck Book of Moon, which is just kind of a nice high floor card into a lot of potential matchups. Very good into open fields, but not so great specifically in the Turbo Mirror. They are main decking at least one copy of Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, giving them a little bit of an anti-chaos bent. That isn't necessarily the mind control that Pot the Master seems to favor, while also giving them a little bit more aggression as well. I think that pairs nicely with the Book of Moon, because Book is good when you can book your opponent's monster and then run over it before they can flip summon it again. And so having nice aggressive monsters like Kaiku, I think, pairs well with that to make it so that you're not always just going purely -1 off of the Book of Moon. Out of the side deck, they played against a burn list in the previous round. Specifically skill drain burn, not like the typical panda burn list that we normally see. So we saw stuff like Zombira come out of the side, not expecting that to see that in the Turbo Mirror usually, but definitely is possible. And they're also playing extra copies of battle traps like Sakuretsu armor and things like that. But generally, relatively standard Turbo lists from both players here, so it's just going to be all down to technical play here and maybe a little bit of who draws better. But let's see. Let's hop into it. As always, randomize the positions of these players so we don't know who wins. And let's hop into it. Looks like Michele is going to win that RPS. Not a bad start for the Bomb Squad player. And they opened Thunder Dragon as well. Pretty nice opening. Already getting that free little extra card advantage that the T-Drag provides. And we're just going to go set a Monster Pass. Not the most crazy opening, but you're always happy to open your Thunder Dragons, especially in Turbo Mirrors. We'll see what Pot the Master can do here. They've got Upstart Goblins in the deck a little bit. Into T-set pass, so very, very similar openings there. See if there's any trap dust shoot action here from Pot the Master. That could be a really good way to equalize the, going second advantage. And they do. All right, so we are going to get a sneak peek into both players' hands. Pot the Masters, pretty solid. We are a whole duoer here. The age-old question, do you want to shoot before you duo? Or vice versa? Pot the Master says, I'm going to go dust shoot first. And this is going to be pretty nice because they can rip out this Sinister Serpent before they go ahead and go with this Delinquent duo. Now, interestingly, it looks like Michele top decked their own duo for a turn, which is pretty nice. So neither player going to get really insane advantage off of either of those, it seems like. Pot the Master's rest of the hand is kind of interesting. BLS without any light dark engraves, kind of going to be a brick for a while. Tribe with no discard fodder. Outside of the duo, honestly, not the most spectacular hand you'll ever see, especially depending on what the set monster is. But could become good down the line if they draw into some extra stuff. Michele's hand, we know about the double Thunder Dragon. Looks like they just top deck duo. They have a heavy without really any targets, and a Sork that's not live. So if you are Pot the Master, you probably just send back the Serpent here to make your duo significantly better when you go and fire it off later on down the line. Now, no guarantee that Pot the Master just fires it off ASAP because there's double Thunder Dragon in hand, so maybe there are worlds where you want to wait until at least one of the Thunder Dragons are gone so you get more value out of the duo. But I think you definitely want to send back the Serpent here is my guess, and that's what we'll see. Sounds good to me. And now you know to play around Heavy Storm as well, which is a good card to have some intel on, of course. Duo is going to get fired off here. Pot's duo could just get sniped here, and it kind of might not matter. Going to snipe the ring, though. Wouldn't be surprised to see the BLS get discarded. Well, actually, I don't know. It's probably way too early to be discarding BLS. It's just super dead. Yeah, in the Turbo Mirror, you kind of want your BLS, though. So maybe you just discard the Tribe here and go from there. Yeah, going to discard the Tribe. That seems pretty good. Michele's going to go flip some of the Night Assailant. Wow, yeah, so knowing... Not a turn 1 set that you probably do blind, but because this is Wave 2 and players are locked into their previous decks, Michele knows that this is a Turbo Mirror, in which case turn 1 set Night Assailant is also kind of a bluff. You don't really care if it gets Mind Conned or knocked. And it can be really good if Pot the Master goes ahead and sets a monster of their own, so that you can then pop it and have a big tempo play. So yeah, gonna pop the set Gravekeeper Spy. That is a really, really big play there for Michele, preventing Pot's entire turn, essentially. And now we're going to go Tribute for Thunder Dragon, get a big beater on the board, and start going to town. We know Pot the Master's hand is a duo that's not going to answer this, and a BLS without any lights engrave. So this Thunder Dragon very well could do a lot of work, because it's looking like it might stick around for a while here. 1,600 points of damage to the dome here for Pot the Master. Oh, and we're going to slam down that Chaos Sorcerer that we knew about as well. Pot the Master did have an interesting choice to make there with the Dust Shoot about whether to send back the Serpent or not. Because the Sork could have been live, we knew that Michele had a Light Engrave thanks to the Thunder Dragon. And so tributing over the set monster was always a possibility, and it's pretty likely it's going to be a Dark. But here it is, it's going to come down, and this is a lot of damage here very early on for Pot the Master to deal with, without too many cards to their name, and one of them being a dead BLS. Might be a very, very quick game 1 here to Michele in Bomb Squad's favor. Pot the Master here is going to fire off that duo. 1,000 life is a lot to pay. This is actually dropping them down into lethal damage range, so a little bit risky. See what they hit here, though. Going to snag the Heavy Storm that was, of course, known, and then I'm expecting to see the second Thunder Dragon hit the bin. So that means we know the last card in hand is that Tribe Infecting Virus that we saw before. And then Pot is just going to go ahead and set a monster pass. Looks like they drew some sort of normal summonable monster for turn. Just trying to hold on long enough to probably summon that BLS. I guess a Magician of Faith would be really nice. Both to like help dig further in the deck a little bit with that upstart, and then get a Light Engrave to summon your BLS. That'd be best case scenario here for Pot the Master. Gonna go normal summon Breaker, just going for big damage, and if it is Faith, it's just GG. So unless the set is exactly... Well, I guess Tsukuyomi could set a monster, so unless the set is Tsukuyomi, I guess Night Assailant, or Gravekeeper Spy, this is gonna be GG. Sork coming in, and yeah, Pot the Master not even going to show what it is. And that's a very, very quick game 1 here to Michele. Just a really solid early start there. The top deck duo on turn 2, ripping apart Pot the Master's hand, and then applying maximum pressure very, very early on. Pot had the bricked BLS in hand and just couldn't really get much going. And we're going to head to a early game 2 with Pot the Master going first. We'll see. Neither of these players played in a Turbo Mirror game 1, so I'm not sure exactly what their side deck configuration is going to be here. So let's be on the lookout for any potential spiciness coming in out of the side for both players. This time, Pot the Master going first is going to open Thunder Dragon of their own, so very similar opening to Michele last time. And we're going to go set a monster with a couple back row behind it. Would not be surprised to see another Trap Dust Shoot activate here, and that's exactly what we'll see. So once again, peek at the opponent's hands. Pot's hand, once again, shooting before duo, definitely seems very committed to that line of play. I think that is generally the favored ordering nowadays for most people, but there are still some people who like to do it the other way, and sometimes it's also hand dependent. Rest of the hand is the 2 known Thunder Dragons, as well as a Breaker the Magical Warrior, which is just a generally good all-around card. They see Michele's hand, which has lots and lots of set monster hate, so I don't think this Pot the Master's turn 1 play is going to be sticking around for too long. Double Minecon plus Knock, as well as Trap Dust Shoot, so lots of good anti-turbo cards in Michele's hand, but they get a lot worse when Pot the Master knows about them, right? The Dust Shoot will be able to get value, of course, likely sending back that Breaker, unless Pot draws another monster. But now Pot can play around all of these face-down hate cards and make it a little bit easier. Sangan and Breaker as the 2 Dust Shoot targets. Depends on what your other back row is here, most likely, if you care about the Breaker or not. Actually going plus. We'll see which one Pot the Master chooses to send back, though. Or we're just going to double Dust Shoot. Okay, that works too. We'll send back both of the monsters. So Breaker plus Sangan gone here. Michele will have no action in their hand in terms of applying pressure. They can knock or Minecon the set. Interesting choice, of course. And they will get some value out of their Dust Shoot, but not going to make any proactive plays so far this turn, thanks to the double opened Trap Dust Shoot here out of Pot the Master. Because going to fire off the Minecon, and they snag a Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. Okay, so Pot here has the Kaikus probably coming in out of the side for the Turbo Mirror, and going to use that to bait out Michele's Minecon. Now, Michele could have gone and fired off that Knock, but Minecon is definitely a lot worse when it's known about compared to your opponent's, compared to a Knock, I would say. So, and especially when you have 2 copies of them, I think firing one off here is definitely justifiable. Unfortunately for Michele, though, going to get punished and Mineconning a pure bait. Just going to flip summon it, set a back row, and then pass there. All right, so Pot the Master with pretty much full information here. As the Kaiku, Dust Shoot's going to come down, of course. We'll see what Pot drew for turn. Looks like they drew a Jar of Greed. So we'll see this Breaker get sent back, and then Pot will just go ahead, duo, rip out Michele's hand. Probably, yeah, just crash in with the Kaiku, and then set Jar Pass. Seems pretty good. And get off to some big early damage. Very similar sort of openings from both players. Dust Shoot's doing work, Duo's doing work to really simplify the game state early on. And when the game states get simplified this quickly, whoever has the bigger beaters left on board is generally going to be in a good spot. Last game for Michele, that was Sork and Thunder Dragon. Here for Pot the Master, it's Kaiku, and we're looking to be in a very, very similar sort of scenario here. So yeah, let's duo, rip out the hand, hit the Minecon and the Knock, get in for 1800, and set Jar Pass, and you're up, 3 cards, and you're pretty happy. I guess not full 3 cards because the Thunder Dragons are fake, but either way, in a good spot. Michele is going to top deck a monster, set it pass, try and get something in the way of this Kaiku. Spy could be really good to stabilize. We know Pot doesn't have an answer to it at the moment, but Jar plus the draw for turn will help find that. See if they drew into anything good. No, we're just going to go send Kaiku into the set, and it is that Spy. Okay, so Michele found probably one of the best cards in the deck here to top deck, just to stop this Kaiku onslaught. Get to summon those 2 big 2000 defense monsters to the board, and really, really slow things down here. Pot the Master going to set a monster, must have drawn that for turn, and then, or maybe off the jar, and we'll see what Michele can do here. Snatch Steal is a solid top deck again. 2 pretty nice top decks in a row here for Michele. Gonna go steal that Kaiku and maybe try and get aggressive here. You are behind in card advantage. Snatch Chill is kind of a temporary answer in a lot of cases because it's relatively easy to answer. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Michele put it into, third gear here and turn these spies to attack and start getting in for some big damage. Yep, makes sense. They run into a Knight Assailant, though. Interesting choice here for potthemaster. Do you just pop your own Kaiku and give them the 2-for-1, essentially? Or do you deal with a spy, which is also not great, right? Because you're not really trading full 1-for-1. So actually, nice play here for Michele. This Knight Assailant's not going to get too insane of a value because you don't really have any super amazing, like, purely 1-for-1 targets. I'm going to just deal with the Kaiku, though. Yeah, keeping the light engraved definitely makes sense. Dark's getting engraved as well. Prioritizing just keeping Chaos online for the future, I think makes sense. They will take 1200, and Michele is actually in a decent spot here because we know potthemaster has 2 Dead Thunder Dragons in hand. But Pot here is still with plenty of opportunities to draw some stuff and make something happen here. Looks like we found a Chaos Monster as well, so yeah, answering that Kaiku, very, very important to keep that graveyard alive. We're going to go slam down Chaos Sorcerer here. We can go ahead and banish one of those spies. Keeping the dark out of grave, playing the long game. Could have gotten in for, 1,100 points of damage by attacking over the spy. But then that gets them halfway to Chaos. So Pot's saying, you know what, you're not super close to dead here right now. So let's just play a little bit of a longer game. Go for the value. And I think this makes sense when you're pretty far ahead in card advantage as well. You could also get kind of cute. You could go Sork, banish the spy, and then tribute for Thunder Dragon and kill the other spy by attacking. That kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone. You clear up both spies at the same time. You start getting a little bit more aggressive. But then you don't have your Sork on board anymore, and you actually do put a Dark Engrave for your opponent. So a little bit of a double-edged sword. We'll see what Pot chooses to do in this scenario. I'm going to go Sork, banish, and yeah, just stick around here, maintain the big board dominance that Chaos Sorcerer provides, can threaten to just banish the next spy next turn, and just continue to extend this lead. Michele finds Upstart Goblin, and that will draw them into a monster to set. Spy goes to defense, of course, and they'll pass turn. Potthemaster could just, once again, go ahead, banish the second copy of Spy with the Sork. Yep, keeping those darks out of the grave nicely, and they found Knock to deal with the set monster, which is really nice, hitting into Koichi. So yeah, lots of darks out of Michele's deck now. Really only the third copy of Spy if they play it. Plus like some random stuff like maybe Knight Assailant, Sangan left as darks. And now let's see, are we gonna go for big damage? Just gonna pass here, keeping those Thunder Dragons in hand. No reason to get too greedy with the damage. You can just start attacking for 2,300 next turn is probably the idea. Michele top decks Thunder Dragon, so gets the Light Engrave, but not going to be able to stop this Sork from coming in for damage next turn. Pretty much just a dead turn here for Michele, outside of the little bit of deck thinning that happens there. And Pot here now has an opportunity to get really aggressive. We're going to go slam down a second copy of Kaiku. Pretty cool to see here. We know Michele was main decking the Kaikus, potthemaster bringing them in likely out of the side. So we got dueling Kaikus on both sides here. Empty board here to attack into. Can banish that Thunder Dragon as well, getting lots of value out of this Kaiku. And Michele is likely not long for this world, thanks to this very formidable board here from Potthemaster, who's played this game out very, very nicely. The double duo plus the double dust shoot and the duo kind of just played themselves, obviously. But definitely has played it nice and safe, nice and conservatively ever since then to maintain this lead. And now that they found an opening, fully taking it and passing with lethal on board here in game 2. Michele top decks a Breaker, the Magical Warrior. Gonna go and attempt to kill the Kaiku. Just gonna run into Mirror Force though, and that is going to be GG since we know the hand is just double Thunder Dragon. And there you have it, game 2 here to Potthemaster. 2 relatively quick turbo mirrors there, no one really able to stall out significantly for too long with any sort of like Gravekeeper Spy resolutions or anything like that. Michele was able to resolve Spy that game, but it was made quick work of by Potthemaster's Chaos Sorcerer. And now we will move to this pivotal rubber match, game 3 here. Michele will be able to go first for the second time in this high-level turbo mirror. And we'll see who will be able to move on to a potential wave 3. Michele is going to open Thunder Dragon. Seems like whoever goes first and whoever opens Thunder Dragon is in a good spot in this match so far. So Michele off to a pretty Good opening here. And we're going to go T-set pass. Not a lot of Trinity in either player's opening hands. It seems like, yeah, no one's resolved a pot or a graceful all match, right? It's just been duos getting traded back and forth. And I think that's why the matches or the games have been relatively quick, is because if both players are just duoing and dust shooting each other, like I said, the game gets very, very simplified very quickly. And these kaikus and things that both players like to play will start getting a lot more value than they would into a very complicated board state because they can attack in for free. So we'll see if Pot the Master is going to buck that trend by opening some sort of Trinity piece here. Knock to start, hitting a Tsukuyomi. So Michele setting a bait. It's going to get hit by the knock, but maybe setting up for something a little bit stronger down the line, like a Spy or a Dokoichi. And then Pot is just going to set a back row pass. No monster opening here. Wonder if maybe we're setting up for a Torrential Tribute or something. Or just completely bricked on monsters. Not the most exciting play here out of Pot the Master. You'd have to think slight advantage here to Michele. Open the Thunder Dragon, was able to use their normal summon, baited out a knock, and Pot really wasn't able to do too much on their own turn. So, ball in Michele's court. Dust Shoot here going to come down for Pot the Master. Turn 1 Dust Shoot, all 3 games for Pot is definitely pretty nice. And once again, let's see both players' hands. Pot's hand, very interesting. We got a Raigeki Break with no discard fodder, a Blockbuster Soldier with no other monsters, a Book of Moon, which is just kind of not the most amazing card you'll ever see, but definitely can be useful, and a Graceful Charity without any obvious discards. So Pot the Master definitely playing the long game here. Almost every card in their hand is going to require some other sort of draw to get, solid value out of. But kind of thankfully, if you're Pot the Master, you see Michele's hand is not very strong either. Just those 2 Thunder Dragons here as monsters, so one will get sent back with the Dust Shoot. And the rest of the hand is all very reactive cards. You see Torrential, Mirror Force, Knock, all stuff that's pretty useless to apply pressure to your opponent. The Trap Dust Shoot, of course, will get some value, sending back at least that BLS. But once again, Pot the Master getting lots of knowledge out of this Trap Dust Shoot to know that your opponent just really has nothing else going on. Interesting Turbo Mirror here in Game 3 where both players seem to just kind of bricked. So I wonder if you're Pot the Master and you see this hand, post Dust Shoot, maybe, you probably just want to fire off this Graceful, even without having any, solid discard fodder, because you want to just draw into some threats and pressure the opponent while you can. Seems like a decent play. I mean, there is Mirror Force and Torrential that you could just be kind of running into. I guess the other way you could go, instead of saying, okay, let's take advantage of Michele's bricked hand, is you could set up for a very valuable Graceful Charity, because you know you're not going to be under too much pressure in the short term. So I'm actually interested to see how Pot the Master plays this one out, because you could either get really aggressive here to punish Michele, or you could sit back and try and play the more value-heavy game here. Of course, Thunder Dragon will just get sent back. Michele discards the remaining one to search out the last one. All that good stuff. And now Pot the Master knows that they can play around Mirror Force, Torrential Tribute, etc. A really good draw for Pot the Master here would be Sangam, because you can just normal summon that and start beating in without having to worry really about Torrential or Mirror Force. We'll see this Dust Shoot get fired off, though. We'll see what Pot drew for turn. They drew a Nobleman of Crossout, I believe, for turn, so another card that's not really doing anything too much. Yeah, I feel like Graceful is probably just good here. I don't know, because, you're not really doing too much. Well, let's see what Pot does here. Just going to pass. All right, we're playing the long game. You're not under any pressure. Let's get value out of the Graceful. That's going to be the win con this game. Grind this one out. Draw go. Yeah, both players pretty bricked here. Pot the Master finds Thunder Dragon, though, and immediately rewarded for the hold Graceful play. So, you know what? Hindsight's 20/20, but Pot clearly made the right call there. And we're going to go grab double TD, fire off this Graceful Charity, pitch those in for 2 real cards, and, get off to the races. Discard both copies of those Thunder Dragons. We've got 3 fresh cards in the hand, ready to use. Upstart Goblin, dig even further. Why not? Into Kaiku, yeah, so finding that big threat. You know that Mirror Force and Torrential Tribute are in the hand, by the way, because Michele only set the Dust Shoot. So this is likely just going to connect, unless there's, Ring Set or something like that. Yeah, Raigeki Break here coming out. Forcing it out. Michele does have the Thunder Dragon as discard fodder. But nice little, aggressive play here Pot the Master, Post Graceful Charity. Going to force out a little bit of a positive card advantage play, I guess, there. Not the end of the world, though. And then we're just going to pass turn. But once again, we know Michaela's hand is still pretty reactive. So Pot can play with near perfect information here. We're going to get normal summon Gravekeeper Spy. Wow, okay. So Michele going for big, big damage. Pot the Master at full health. So this is the little spy that could. Notably, the Tsukuyomi is gone. So it's not even like you're really just trying to like play around like a Knock or a Minecon with this, unless you're playing multiple copies of Suk. But I guess just making the read that. I mean, I guess you can protect it with like Torrential and stuff. Or no, you don't really want to torrential your own spy. You can protect it with Mirror Force, and I guess you have Knock to help be a little bit more aggressive. Michele doesn't know that Pot the Master has a Knock in hand, though, right? Especially with one already being used. I mean, I guess post Graceful, you're pretty deep in the deck, and we know Pot the Master plays at least one Minecon as well. Maybe Michele's just making the read that they probably have another copy in hand. But Pot's going to take 1,200 damage here. Not the scariest monster you'll ever see. Set another back row behind it as well. Could be Torrential, could be Mirror Force, could be something else. Pot here. How are we going to choose to deal with this 1,200 attacker? We'll go with a 1,600 attacker, or we can just go call Spellcaster with the Tribe effect. We're going to go for damage, though. Going to keep those cards in hand. No obvious discard fodder that we know about with the Thunder Dragons gone, of course. So we're going to go Tribe, beat over Spy. Maybe bait out the Mirror Force. That's probably fine if that happens. And that's just going to come through. Yeah, very likely that the Mirror Force is set there. And Pot the Master is like, okay, if you want to use your Mirror Force on a tribe to protect a Gravekeeper Spy, that's probably fine. So really interesting play there from Pot that kind of put Michele between a rock and a hard place. And getting the value there, that's just a pure +1 with the tribe beating over that Spy. And kind of as expected, that normal summon Spy with Pot the Master at full health didn't really accomplish too much there, I will say. And this tribe will live to see another day here for the time being. Back row set behind it. Michele is going to go ahead and set a monster of their own. So now choosing to set into still the same exact situation as before. So interesting choice there. Now Pot the Master we do know has that second copy of Knock in hand, so that's likely to come down. Let's see what the move is, though. Yeah, Knock the set, hitting into Koichi, not too bad. Yeah, interesting choices to go for that normal summon Spy. Koichi's getting banished from both players' decks. Tribe gets in for 16, just clocking the opponent a little bit. Nothing crazy. Just continuing to apply pressure and slowly grind this one out. That seems to be Pot the Master's MO here in these Turbo Mirrors. Let's just play nice and solid, take the wins where you can get them, and wait for an opening to get nice and aggressive. Michele here finds Pot of Greed. That is a nice way back into this game. It will resolve, so we're basically all square here. Pot into Upstart as well. Both players really churning through those decks. And we find a Chaos Monster. Sork gonna come down, attempt to banish the tribe using priority. And that will resolve. So a nice little double +1 this turn. Pot of Greed into Sork banish for Michele and has taken control of this game 3. Right back in front. That's how quickly these matches can turn around in relatively even Turbo Mirrors. Pot the Master here, thinking hard. Chaos of their own. Kaiku hitting the grave was what they needed for that. Nice. Yeah, and we're going to go ahead. We're going to go summon Chaos Sorcerer of Pot the Masters here. Going to go ahead and banish the opponents. But Michele is going to chain that Torrential. That was known. It is going to be a nice little +1 for Pot, though. It's trading Sork for Torrential plus your opponent's Sork. So it's going to equalize the Sork plus from before. Once again, a very, very hotly contested game 3 here. Neither player ever really able to solidify a permanent advantage, it seems like. I guess Pot the Master is up a card here, though. So maybe a slight lead, but like I said, still plenty of Yu-Gi-Oh! Left to play. Gonna go set another monster. Some goodies in Grave that Michele might have to worry about. We haven't seen a Magician of Faith resolve really at all this match, but as we know, that is a game-winning card, especially in these value-based matches. Bluff set knock coming through here for Michele. Gonna deal with that Knight Assailant. Okay, so pot setting a Knight Assailant. Like I said, not the end of the world if that gets knocked. If you trade it for knock, you're happy. If your opponent sets a monster into it, you're happy. The only thing that really this gets punished by is like if they summon a Sangan and attack into it or something like that. Or even like Breaker getting a 2-for-1, popping the back row, crashing into the Knight Assailant. Yeah, trading for knock, you're pretty happy about, I think. It's like neither player has any Knight Assailants left. So pop the Master. I mean, Michele might just not be on any Knight Assailants, at least post side. I can't remember if I saw any in the prep, but maybe he just doesn't like Assailants at all. Pop the Master either has the second one in hand or is just playing one. So interesting Knight Assailant usage from both players here. And Michele will set a couple back row pass. No monster here to punish this newly empty board post knock. So Pot the Master, really not under too much pressure, right? It's just, I got my Knight Assailant knocked. That's a knock gone to maybe set up for a more valuable flip later on. Kind of a win here for Pot the Master, who's already in a slight lead. Drawing up to 4 cards, though, here in the draw phase will let them be a sitting duck for this trap Dust Shoot. And the hand is Kaiku, which will get sent back. Torrential Tribute, Minecon, Raigeki Break. Wow, so this is actually a really, really big Dust Shoot here for Michele. Trading 1-for-1 when you're down cards is not always great, but now you have full knowledge that Pot the Master's hand is not that strong. They have a Torrential Tribute, which is a little bit suspect of a card in these mirror matches. I guess it gets a little bit more value when both players are running like Haikus and stuff, because board presence is a little bit more important, and keeping the board clear is more valuable if you want to go follow up with a Kaiku at some point. But now Michele knows about the Torrential Tribute, they know about Minecon, which is really good to know about, and we know that there's a Raigeki Break with no discard fodder. So Pot the Master's hand, not doing too much here. Both players kind of just trading back and forth, relatively bricked hands here. Kaiku's going to get sent back, which makes his hand significantly worse. And Pot the Master will likely, I mean, maybe you just pass turn, not set anything and give away the info. Yeah, just pass turn there. And we'll see if either player can mount any sort of offense here. Both players very high on life as well. 7,000 plus life for both of them. We're about halfway through both players' decks here too. So the fact that we're this deep in the game and there's nothing to separate either player is pretty impressive, I would say. Michele just going to set a back row pass, not finding a monster to pressure anything. Pot the Master sets a back row of their own. We know about Torrential, we know about Raigeki Break. Draw go. Both players probably just trying to find a threat here. Upstart for Pot, once again digging. Set a monster pass. All right, so Pot the Master finds something. You know one knock is gone, but it's been a couple turns. Michele could have easily drawn into another one or Minecon. See what the move is here. It's going to knock it. Knocking Spy, that's pretty nice, big aggressive option for Pot the Master. Going to be gone for both players at this point, it feels like. And Michele is just going to set a monster pass. So using knock as a nice little tempo bump there. Remove your opponent's normal summon and then set one of your own into an empty board. So Pot the Master a little bit behind here in terms of tempo. See what they can do. Could always be a bluff, of course. Both knocks gone for Pot the Master, though, so would be a good time actually to set a bluff if you're Michele, because the only options Pot has here is to use the Raigeki Break that you know they didn't have discard fodder for, or use a Minecon, right? But Pot the Master is just going to set a monster pass, not going to do anything crazy. We could see, like, standby phase Raigeki Break, that is a possibility, especially with, like, Pot Engrave. You, of course, don't want Michele to regrab stuff like that. They're going to get Domain Phase 1, though. Mind Control going to get used here. Oh, actually, notably, yeah, so Pot the Master, we know, has Mind Control in the hand. So Michele setting a monster into known Mind Control, very, you know, mind gamey play there. Is like, okay, he knows that I know that he has Minecon, so what are you going to do there? Michele's going to fire off their own Minecon here, and Pot the Master is going to see their Sinister Serpent taken here. So for the second time this match, Michele uses their Minecon on just pure bait. Last game it was the Kaiku. So this is just going to be a nice little +1 for Pot the Master. Getting a lot of mileage out of setting bluffs here so far. But this will move a monster out of the way for Michele to flip summon a Gravekeeper Spy. Unfortunately, all their targets are gone, though. So it's just going to be a 1200 beater coming in. Which isn't... I mean, we've seen this once already this game. Not the most ferocious play, especially with the Pot the Master near full life, but it will start chipping away a little bit. And we're going to go flip summon the Serpent, set a monster past turn. Serpent goes back at the end. So Pot the Master getting a nice little +1 there, baiting out that Minecon, but does take a little bit of damage. Still a pretty healthy life point total, so definitely a win for Pot the Master there, I think. But still a lot left to happen in this game, I do think. Quick Chaos check. Pot the Master does have Chaos Live. Both players have Chaos Live, so lots of high value top decks available to both players. Pot the Master is now going to use this Minecon. Once again, Michele setting into a known Minecon. Gonna use it. Gonna snag a Magician of Faith. Wow. Okay, so Michele going for it, saying, you know what, Pot the Master didn't use the Minecon on my first set, so surely he won't use it on the second. But Pot the Master making the read, Mineconning the Faith. Go ahead, grab Graceful Charity probably, and Pot the Master was kind of grinding this one out a little bit here, and now it's about to kind of just blow up, it feels like. Grab that Graceful. Unfortunately for Pot, the Sinister that you would love to have in hand is on the field at the moment, but you'll never complain about Faith target Graceful. Not even going to use it just yet, waiting to set up something. Maybe there is a world. I actually kind of like this play, right? Michele, Pot the Master knows that Michele is behind. Pot the Master is doing a good job of grinding this one out. So what is Michele's route back into this game? They've gone all in a lot this game on just like attacking in with these spies and things. That seems to be the game plan. When you're down in cards, it's good to get aggressive and try and win the game before your opponent can just trade down to a winning position. So Michele is incentivized to get aggressive here, but they're going to have to run over the Sinister Serpent most likely to make that happen. And then Pot the Master can just get that back in the hand to go for the full value Graceful Charity next turn. So I actually like slow playing this a little bit, holding the Graceful, because either Michele is going to set up your high value Graceful for you by attacking over this spy, or Michele's not going to attack, and then Pot the Master is just going to be in a position to grind this one out. So really, really nice, slow, calculated play here from Pot the Master. Just really, really showing how solid they can be at just grinding out these turbo mirrors. Michele here. Tsukuyomi would be nice to reset their own Magician of Faith. We're going to go Book of Moon for the Faith. Okay, so kind of just a 1-for-1 trade, assuming this resolves. Pot the Master has Ring. That is absolutely game-breaking. We're going to Raigeki break it. Discard a Magician of Faith. Sure, you already resolved one, so, you know, just kind of a luxury at that point. And this is actually just kind of a nice little, like, 2-for-2 trade. Break and Faith for Faith and Book of Moon, kind of. I mean, the Faith isn't like a full card because it's face up, but I think it's definitely worth it at this point in time. Especially, yeah, Michele regrabbing Pot is a little bit scary, so definitely like this Raigeki break play. Book is just going to fizzle. Spy to defense, set a monster, and yeah, as expected, Michele is worried about giving Pot the Master this high-value Graceful Charity maneuver, but at the end result, you're down cards, and you're just putting up the shields, you know what I mean? So, not, still kind of playing into Pot's game plan. Draw agreed here, playing into a Trap Dust Shoot, but pretty unlikely that that's what the set is at this point. We're going to go Serpent, flip up the set monster. It is another Magician of Faith. Okay, so Michele did a lot here to go and resolve that Pot, to go and resolve this Magician of Faith. Going to be worth it. They're going to finally regrab that Pot of Greed. Once again, if that resolves, they'll be equalizing the card advantage here. Oh, but Pot the Master has the Delinquent Duo. Very well played there, saying, I don't care what you grab with that Magician of Faith. I'm just going to rip it right out of your hand with this Delinquent Duo. Using Sinister Serpent just to force out the effect on your own terms. And this is a huge, huge plus here off of this duo to really decimate Michele's hand. Hitting Snatch Steal as well, so another very powerful one-of that you no longer need to worry about. And Pot continuing to just be in this commanding position. Couple back row set here behind this Serpent. Michele, do we have any gas? Just going to set a back row. All right. Pot, once again, Jar of Greed. Both players, as always, churning through their decks. 12 to 14 cards left in the deck. Pot the Master does lose the deck out war if Michele can put up the shields, and they are at full life, so that is actually kind of relevant. And Pot the Master, yeah, no way of getting around this Gravekeeper spy, so we're just going to go Serp to defense, set a monster pass. Michele here. Shields are up. See if we want to get aggressive, just draw go. Maybe you play for deck out at this point. Pot's going to go fire off that graceful that was being held. Did we find a Knight Assailant or something to get value? Or is it just, time to go for it? This does greatly speed up the deck out clock, though. Thinking on these discards, we're going to discard Mirror Force and a Breaker. Two pretty solid cards, but relatively situational. So we'll see what Pot the Master kept over those. We're going to go Raigeki Break on the set monster. So going for the big 2-for-1. Very worried about Pot the Master once again recurring this Graceful Charity with a potential Magician of Faith. Discarding a Kaiku as well, which would have been pretty nice into the Sinister Serpent and start dealing some damage. But maybe Michele's just going all in on this deck out play and just doesn't want Pot to actually find any of their tools here. Hitting the Magician of Faith. Okay, so nice read there, preventing the Faith regrabbing Graceful for the second time. But that was a pretty big investment, 2-for-1ing yourself to prevent that from coming through. I guess the idea, though, is let's hole up behind this Spy and hope Pot the Master decks out. Because, I mean, look how many cards Pot the Master is up now. Book of Moon on the Serpent to set it face down, to flip it to trigger Torrential. That's pretty cute. You have cards to spare, so just might as well clear out this whole board. And yeah, I mean, the Spy Wall deck out play was probably Michele's plan at this point. It's a flimsy plan, so I understand Pot, recognizing like, okay, I can sacrifice some cards to just clear out this board and start making some progress on Michele's life points. Heavy Storm clear at the back row, and we're just going to go Chaos for the win. Clear out that Mirror Force that I think was known from like 7 million years ago. And now show me Blockbuster Soldier. Yep. And Kaiku as well. 2-turn clock. And yeah, like I mentioned there, Michele was in between a rock and a hard place earlier on with that Sinister Serpent wall there from Pot the Master, because at some point, Pot will be able to, your up cards, 1 to 2 cards, you can simplify the game state down to a winning proposition, and that's exactly what Pot the Master did here. It took a while to get there, but Pot the Master has shown that they're able to be patient here. Summon both of these. I mean, Snatch Steal is gone. Top deck BLS is really... Oh, no, Kaiku. Yeah, with Snatch Steal gone, yeah, you need... Man, like, I can't even think of an out to this with all the stuff that's been used, right? Snatch Steal is gone. Ring doesn't... I mean, you'd have to, like, get rid of the Kaiku, right? Yeah, I just don't see there's any series of draws here. With Pot gone, you can't even, like, do, like, Pot into Ring plus BLS or something. Like, that's not a thing. Or, like, Pot into Minecon, the Kaiku summon BLS, something like that. Yeah, it feels like GG here. Are those all the darks, too? No, there's still a Kaiku left, but... Yeah, Pot the Master here. Picking their spot to simplify down to a 1-game state. Gonna pass with lethal on board. Michele has 1 draw left to their name. It's gonna be a monster. They can set it. I guess Knight Assailant keeps them alive. Tsukuyomi keeps them alive as well. See what Pot chooses to do. Grab the Serpent. Just Pot of Greed. Draw off return anyway. Might as well. Banish the set monster. Show me another Kaiku for game. Show me Gravekeeper Spy. Your spies are gone. Yeah. Tsukuyomi. Yep, there you go. You can just reset the BLS and go for game. And that is a very, very high level, well played Turbo Mirror here in Game 3. Games 1 and 2 were kind of blowouts in either direction, just thanks to some early like duo dust shoot action. Game 3, though, very, very well played by both players, I will say. Pot the Master here having the edge. In the end, though, grinding this one out. And really, yeah, I really like the way that Pot the Master just proposed like lose-lose situations to Michele throughout all of that. And, just was able to seal the deal at the end, regardless of which decision Michele was able to make in those scenarios. So very well played there. So Bones Generation will survive Wave 2 at least. We'll see how Pot the Master's partner did here, though. Tiso, remember, was also playing. And it looks like, Bones Generation here, both Tiso and Pot the Master were able to win their matchups here in Wave 2. So this series is now equaled up. 2 players on both teams remaining in the survival-style war. So it's going to be Tiso and Pot the Master versus Jay Harris and Dale here in Wave 3. So a little bit of a comeback on our hands here for Bones Generation. Still equal amounts of players from both players, though, so Bomb Squad could very much still seal the deal here. Let me know what you guys think about this match down in the comments. Really, really cool gameplay to watch, as well as very, very relevant for how this war is potentially going to end up. Yeah, as always, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I will catch you all next time.